On this episode of A History of the Navy in 100 Objects, we take a look at a small object. It's utilitarian, but takes us to the heart of President Roosevelt's role in coming to the aid of Great Britain.
In 1940, Nazi Germany had run over most of Europe. France had fallen, and really only Great Britain stood in its way. In 1940, Franklin Roosevelt was determined to assist England in its defense against Nazi Germany, but keep in mind that the United States was not yet at war with either Germany or Japan. As a result, he would say that we would become an arsenal of democracy. And so he proposed a Lend-Lease program where we would provide arms, supplies, and other materials to England, the Free French, and later to the Soviet Union and to China. As a result, he proposed legislation to Congress, and in February 1941, the House of Representatives considered H.R. 1776, Lend-Lease. The bill fell, its vote fell upon largely partisan lines. Most Democrats supported it. Most Republicans were against it because they thought it might be a way for the U.S. to get into this war. A few weeks later, the Senate passes the bill, largely along partisan lines as well. On May 11th, 1941, Franklin Delano Roosevelt signs Lend-Lease. It's worth, in today's terms, about $50 billion. It was extremely significant in terms of what the U.S. contributed to the war effort prior to its more involved participation after declaration of war in December 1941. Two pens were used for this, the signing of this act. This is one of them that FDR used. In fact, you can still see the teeth marks he had with this pen. Now, FDR was a smoker. You often see him in some images with this extended cigarette holder. The pen came to us by way of his aide, General Edwin Paw Watson. Watson was a West Point graduate of 1908, and in 1933 becomes the military aide to FDR. Eventually, he would rise to a rank that was equivalent to today's civilian chief of staff. He was in charge of FDR's schedule, other appointments, and other information being filtered into and out of the White House. On the same day that Lend-Lease was signed, Watson sends this to the United States Naval Academy Museum to Captain Harry Baldridge, who was the director of the museum at the time, my predecessor. Baldridge had a very close relationship with FDR because FDR had an interest in the Navy. So we have a number of letters from Baldridge to and from FDR. Watson sends this over to the U.S. Naval Academy Museum, where we displayed it. And unfortunately, right after the meeting at Yalta, Watson is on his way back on a ship and dies of a cerebral hemorrhage just a couple of months before FDR also passes. The bill, Lend-Lease, was significant to the United States in its victory against the Axis powers, particularly against Germany. And the last payment for Lend-Lease was in December 2006, a payment of $83 million from England to the United States with a letter of thanks.
Thanks for joining us on the podcast today, and we hope to see you soon at the U.S. Naval Academy Museum.